Hey everyone, Elizabeth here. The Last Laugh delivers stories that leave you speechless. If you're here for it, hit subscribe and let's go. The Williams family reunion happened every year at my parents' lake house in Cedar Ridge. 3 days of forced togetherness where my older sister Vanessa showcased her perfect life while I played the role of the family disappointment. This year was supposed to be different. This year, I'd promised myself I wouldn't let them get to me. That promise lasted approximately 45 minutes. I arrived Friday afternoon, pulling my Tesla Model X into the gravel driveway. My brother-in-law Derek was already there with his pickup truck, unloading coolers and camping gear. Vanessa stood on the porch in designer athleisure wear, her 3 children running circles around her legs. "Kira, you made it," Mom called from the kitchen window. "We were starting to think your little internet thing was keeping you too busy." My little internet thing. That's what they called it. My career. My business. My entire life's work reduced to a dismissive phrase. I grabbed my overnight bag and headed inside. The lake house hadn't changed, same pine walls, same fishing photos, same mounted deer head that had terrified me as a child. Dad sat in his recliner watching a baseball game, barely looking up when I entered. "Hey, kiddo. Good drive?" "Yeah, traffic wasn't bad." Vanessa swooped in for an air kiss. "So good to see you. How's the Instagram life? Still posting pictures of your breakfast?" "Something like that," I said evenly. The truth was more complicated. I wasn't just posting pictures of breakfast. I was a content creator with 2.8 million followers across Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. I ran a lifestyle brand focused on sustainable living, minimalism, and intentional design. My content had been featured in Vogue, Forbes, and Fast Company. I'd partnered with brands like Patagonia, Apple, and West Elm. Last year, my revenue was $2.7 million. But to my family, I just played on the internet. They didn't know about the brand deals worth $75,000 each. They didn't know about my digital product line that generated $45,000 monthly in passive income. They thought I was maybe making $40,000 a year, still living in a small apartment, scraping by on internet money that could disappear any day. The reality? I owned a $1.6 million townhouse in Portland. I had an investment portfolio worth $3.2 million. I employed a team of 7 people, a manager, 2 video editors, a photographer, a social media coordinator, a business manager, and a personal assistant. But I'd learned years ago not to correct them. The one time I'd tried, 3 years ago, when I'd mentioned a major brand partnership, Vanessa had said, "That's nice, but it's not real work, you know? Not like raising children or having a real career." Dad had added, "I still think you should go back to school. Get your teaching certificate. Have something stable." Mom had just looked concerned and said, "But darling, what about when this internet fad ends? What will you do then?" So I'd stopped trying to explain. Let them think what they wanted. "Dinner's in an hour," Mom announced. "Vanessa's making her famous lasagna." "Actually, I picked it up from Costco," Vanessa said with a laugh. "Who has time to cook from scratch with 3 kids? But don't tell anyone, I'll take the credit." Everyone laughed. Vanessa was always like that, cutting corners but somehow getting praised for effort she didn't expend. I excused myself to the guest room, the smallest one, naturally. Vanessa's family got the master suite. I unpacked my laptop, checked my calendar for Monday's brand meeting, and responded to a few urgent emails. My manager Sarah had sent the quarterly revenue report. I skimmed it, $687,000 for Q2. On track for another $2.7 million year. My phone buzzed with a notification. Instagram. Another 1,000 followers since this morning. A comment on my latest post about capsule wardrobes. "You literally changed my life. I've saved so much money and feel so much more confident. Thank you." 53,000 likes. 12,000 comments. All from people whose lives I genuinely impacted. But downstairs, I could hear Vanessa telling Derek, "Poor Kira. Still doing that social media stuff. I keep hoping she'll grow out of it and do something meaningful." I closed my laptop and headed down for dinner. The lasagna was mediocre, definitely Costco. But everyone raved about it anyway. Vanessa's youngest, Mason, kept spilling his juice. Her middle child, Emma, whined about not liking tomato sauce. Her oldest, Connor, was glued to his iPad, ignoring everyone. "Connor, put that away," Derek said half-heartedly. "He's watching educational videos," Vanessa said defensively. "It's not like he's just scrolling social media mindlessly like some people." She didn't look at me, but the message was clear. "So, Kira," Dad said, cutting into his second helping. "What's new in your world? Still taking pictures? Video content mostly now. And yes, still creating." "Creating," Vanessa repeated with a small laugh. "That's one way to put it. Not exactly building something lasting though, is it?" "What do you mean?" "Well, it's also temporary. Trends change. Followers leave. It's not like you're creating something with real value. Something that matters. She gestured to her children. Not like family. Real success means family, not followers. Mom and Dad beamed at the children, their grandchildren, the proof of Vanessa's real success. Emma was currently smearing lasagna on the table. Connor hadn't looked up from his screen once. Mason was crying because his juice was gone. Vanessa's right, Dad said. Family is what matters in the end. Career stuff comes and goes, but family is forever. I'm building a business, Dad. It's not just a hobby. Sure, honey, but it's not stable. What about benefits? Retirement? A 401k? He shook his head. You're 31 now. Time to think about security. I had $3.2 million in investments. I had a retirement account worth $890,000. I had comprehensive health insurance, disability insurance, and a business liability policy. I had more security than anyone at this table. But I just nodded. I'll think about it. You should come work at my school, Vanessa said. She was a third-grade teacher, a job she constantly complained about but also used as proof of her superiority. We need a social media coordinator. Part-time, probably $15 an hour. It would be perfect for you. Real experience, real job. I'll pass, but thanks. Suit yourself. I'm just trying to help. She turned to Mom. Some people just refuse to see reality. My phone, sitting face up next to my plate, lit up with a notification. I glanced at it instinctively. Email from Instagram, congratulations. Your account has been verified for brand partnership tier elite status. Current metrics, 2.8M followers, 340M monthly reach, 94% engagement rate. I quickly turned the phone over, but not before Vanessa had seen the screen. 2.8M, she said slowly. That can't be right. That says million. What says million? Mom asked. Kira's phone. It said something about 2.8 million. Everyone turned to look at me. I felt my face flush. It's nothing. Just a notification. Let me see, Vanessa said, reaching for my phone. Vanessa. She grabbed it before I could stop her. Her eyes widened as she read the screen. 2.8 million followers? Her voice went shrill. You have 2.8 million followers? The table fell silent. Even Connor looked up from his iPad. Who has 2.8 million followers? Dad asked, confused. Kira does. Her Instagram. There's an email here about brand partnership elite status? Monthly reach of 340 million? Mom stood up and came around the table. Let me see that. I should have grabbed my phone back. Should have set a boundary. But part of me, the part that was tired of being dismissed and minimized, wanted them to see it. Wanted them to know. Vanessa was scrolling now, her face getting progressively paler. There's another email here. From someone named Sarah. About quarterly revenue. Vanessa, give me my phone back. Q2 revenue, $687,000. Yearly projection, $2.70 million. She looked up at me, her perfect smile cracking like thin ice. You make $2.7 million a year? Mom actually gasped. Dad's fork clattered against his plate. That's impossible, Vanessa said. You can't make that much from Instagram. That's not a real job. It's a real business, I said quietly, taking my phone back from her shaking hand. I've been trying to tell you that for years. But you live in that tiny apartment, Mom said weakly. I own a townhouse in Portland worth $1.6 million. I bought it outright 2 years ago. The apartment I mentioned was my first rental property. I own it and rent it out for $3,200 a month. Derek had gone completely silent. Vanessa looked like she might be sick. You're lying, she said. This has to be fake. Some kind of scam. I unlocked my phone and pulled up my Instagram. Check for yourself. At Kira Williams Living. 2.8 million followers. Dad took the phone with trembling hands. He stared at the screen, scrolling through my content. My carefully curated posts about sustainable fashion, minimalist home design, intentional living. Each post with hundreds of thousands of likes. This is you, he whispered. Yes, Dad. This is my job. This is what I do every day. I create content that helps people live more intentionally. I partner with brands that align with my values. I write books, give speeches, run workshops. This is my career. How long have you been doing this? Mom asked. 8 years. I started when I was 23, right after college. While Vanessa was getting married and you were all disappointed I wasn't following her path, I was building this business. Post by post. Video by video. Partnership by partnership. Why didn't you tell us? Dad's voice was barely audible. I tried. 3 years ago, I mentioned a brand partnership worth $75,000. Vanessa said it wasn't real work. You told me to get a teaching certificate. Mom said the internet was a fad. I looked at each of them. So I stopped sharing. I stopped trying to make you understand. It was easier to let you think I was barely scraping by than to keep defending myself. Vanessa's face had gone from pale to flushed red. But you drive a Tesla. You wear designer clothes. Where did we think that came from? You didn't think about it. You just assumed I was in debt, living beyond my means, being irresponsible. Jesus Christ, Derek Muteret. And the brand deals, I continued, because now that I'd started, I couldn't stop. Patagonia paid me $85,000 for a 3-month campaign. Apple sent me $50,000 worth of products and paid me $30,000 to feature them. West Elm gave me $125,000 for a furniture line collaboration. I make more in one brand partnership than you make in a year teaching, Vanessa. Her mouth opened and closed. No sound came out. The speaking engagements, $25,000 per appearance. I've done 12 this year. The book deal with Random House, $400,000 advance. It comes out in 8 months. The digital products, presets, guides, courses, $45,000 a month in passive income. Stop, Vanessa whispered. Just stop. Why? Because it makes you uncomfortable? Because it challenges your narrative that I'm the family failure? I stood up. You've spent years making me feel small. Suggesting I get a real job. Implying my work is meaningless because it happens online. And all that time, I was building something bigger than you could imagine. Mom had tears in her eyes. Kira, sweetie, we didn't know. Because you didn't ask. You didn't listen. You just assumed. My phone lit up again. Another email. This time I read it aloud. Subject, Forbes 30 Under 30 Final Confirmation. Dear Ms. Williams, congratulations on your selection for Forbes 30 Under 30 in Media. Your feature will appear in the December issue. The award ceremony is scheduled for October 15th in New York City. Please confirm your attendance. I looked up at my family's stunned faces. I'm being featured in Forbes. They're calling me one of the most influential content creators of my generation. Forbes? Dad said hoarsely. My publicist submitted my name 6 months ago. They've been vetting my business, my income, my impact. Last week they confirmed. The announcement goes public in 3 weeks. Vanessa's perfect smile was completely gone now. She looked broken, her hands gripping the edge of the table. All those times, she said slowly, all those times I said you were wasting your life, you were actually building a multi-million-dollar business. Creating content that's been viewed over 500 million times. Employing 7 people. Changing lives. I softened my voice slightly. I wasn't trying to compete with you, Vanessa. I was just trying to live my life. But you couldn't let me do that without judgment. I was jealous, she whispered. God, I was so jealous. You seemed so free, so happy, doing whatever you wanted. And I was stuck. I am stuck. 3 kids, a mortgage we can barely afford, a husband who, she glanced at Derek. We're drowning in debt. I hate teaching but we need my insurance. And here you are, just effortlessly successful. It wasn't effortless. It was 18-hour days for years. It was learning video editing, photography, business management, negotiation, marketing, analytics. It was failing over and over until I figured it out. It was sacrificing relationships, sleep, social life, everything. But you made it, Mom said quietly. You really made it. Yes. I did. Without your support. Without your belief. Actually, in spite of your constant doubt. The room fell silent except for Mason's whimpering and the TV still playing in the background. Dad cleared his throat. What do we do now? How do we fix this? I thought about that. About years of dismissal, of mockery, of being made to feel less than. About every time they'd suggested I get a real job, about every time they'd looked at Vanessa with pride and at me with concern. You start by acknowledging it, I said finally. You acknowledge that you were wrong about me. That you judged my choices without understanding them. That you made me feel like a failure when I was actually succeeding beyond your comprehension. We were wrong, Mom said immediately. So wrong? I'm sorry, Kira. Truly sorry. We're proud of you, Dad added, but his voice cracked. We should have been proud of you all along. I looked at Vanessa. She was crying now, mascara running down her perfect face. I'm sorry, she sobbed. I'm so sorry. I was horrible to you. I tried to make myself feel better by making you feel worse. And you were out there being incredible while I was being petty and cruel. Yes, I said simply. You were. Can you forgive me? I thought about that. Really thought about it. Maybe, I said. Eventually. But things have to change. No more dismissing my work. No more suggesting I need to get real. No more implying that my life is somehow less valuable because I chose a different path. Agreed, she whispered. And Vanessa? If you're drowning in debt, if you need help, ask for it. Don't steal my joy because you're unhappy. That's not how family works. She nodded, unable to speak. I picked up my phone and checked the time. I have a video call in 30 minutes with my team. We're planning a campaign for a new sustainability initiative. After that, I'll come back down and we can try this dinner again. Actually, try this time. I walked upstairs to my small guest room, leaving them sitting in shocked silence. 2 hours later, after my call with Sarah about the new partnership worth $150,000, I came back downstairs. The dinner had been cleaned up. Mom was making coffee. Dad sat at the kitchen table, my Instagram open on his tablet, scrolling through years of content he'd never seen. You went to Thailand, he said when he saw me. And Iceland. And Japan. I had no idea. You never asked about my travels. I'm asking now. He gestured to the chair beside him. Tell me everything. I want to know about my daughter's incredible life. So I did. I told them about the brand trips to exotic locations, about the conferences where I'd keynote, about the collaborations with designers and artists. About the community I'd built, 2.8 million people who trusted my recommendations, who implemented my advice, who told me I'd changed their lives. Mom cried. Dad kept shaking his head in amazement. Vanessa listened silently, her children finally asleep upstairs. The Forbes thing, Vanessa said eventually. When the article comes out, everyone's going to know, aren't they? Everyone in town. Yes. They're going to know I was horrible to you. That we all were. Probably. She nodded slowly. I deserve that. Yes, I agreed. You do. 3 weeks later, the Forbes announcement went live. My phone exploded with messages, old friends, former classmates, distant relatives, everyone suddenly wanting to congratulate me, to reconnect, to tell me they always knew I'd be successful. Vanessa called me the day the article dropped. I read it, she said quietly. The whole thing. They quoted you talking about family pressure, about being told your work wasn't legitimate. Was that about us? Yes. I'm mentioned in a Forbes article as an example of how not to treat ambitious siblings. Mom's friends are calling her. Everyone knows. I didn't name you specifically. I just told my story. I know. You were actually kind about it, considering. She paused. Thank you for that. I didn't deserve your discretion. No. You didn't. I'm in therapy now. And marriage counseling with Derek. Turns out we have a lot to work through. Her voice was thick. I'm trying to be better, Kira. To be the sister you deserved all along. Good, I said. And I meant it. 6 months after the family reunion that changed everything, I'm sitting in a green room in New York City, about to walk on stage for my TED Talk. Sarah is with me, reviewing last-minute notes. My phone buzzes. A text from Dad. Dad, watching the live stream. Your mother and I are so proud. Break a leg, kiddo. Show them what Williams women can do. A text from Vanessa. Vanessa, you've got this. I'm watching with the kids. They think their aunt is a superhero. They're right. I smile and slip my phone into my bag. The stage manager signals, 5 minutes. I stand, smooth my dress, and take a deep breath. My TED Talk is titled Building Success on Your Own Terms, Why Other People's Definitions Don't Matter. It's about rejecting traditional paths. About finding value in unconventional careers. About building something meaningful even when the people closest to you can't see it. It's about followers versus family. And how sometimes, you have to choose yourself. The stage manager gives the signal. I walk into the lights, to applause, to an audience of people who understand what I've built. And somewhere in Cedar Ridge, my family is watching. Finally seeing me. Finally understanding. Finally proud. But the thing is, I don't need their pride anymore. I built this empire without it. And that's the real success story.